Let's roll, baby. Welcome in a Monday East Coast bias right here on the Ring of Gambling Show, the triple threat, backed by popular demand. What a weekend. What an unbelievable scene across the board in sports over the last 48 to 72 hours. We got you covered with the takes, the winners, everything you need to get your week started with a bang. It's John Jastremski here in New York. Joe House, a very dejected Joe House in Washington, D.C. Raheem the Dream Palmer in Las Vegas. Boys, we'll get to Chiefs-Bills. We'll get to what was an insane Sunday as far as narratives, as far as where the playoff picture stands in both the AFC and the NFC. Teasers, parlays got absolutely slaughtered across the board. But I thought this weekend, despite all the brilliance we saw, House, in the world of the NFL, this is the Ring of Gambling Show presented by FanDuel. The best place to bet the NFL all season long. FanDuel's got it all. Same game parlays, quick bets for jumping in live, and your way so you can build the bet that fits your play. In Missouri, get excited because FanDuel's coming your way December the 1st. Download FanDuel.com/gamblers to get started. Must be 21 plus in present select states and 18 plus in D.C., Kentucky, and Wyoming. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. The World Series, the biggest story. And from a gambling standpoint, it was an insane swing from MVP odds to Game 7 odds, where Toronto takes a 3-0 lead. The Dodgers crawl back. The Dodgers, who were +4 and then some, I think in the 9th inning, down a run with Rojas hitting a homer to tie it. All the insanity of extra innings. Yamamoto and his brilliance. House, I'm going to say it. It's the best sporting event I've seen since Warriors-Cavaliers. I don't think I'm being dramatic in saying this. I've given it a whole lot of thought. I know we've had some tremendous Super Bowls along the way. Best sporting event, pound for pound, I watched since Warriors-Cavaliers, LeBron holding up that trophy and taking down the 73-win Golden State team. I think that's what we witnessed on Saturday night.
I don't mind putting it in that kind of category. I'd rather measure it against other, upper echelon baseball games, because I think it's hard to compare across sports. Like, we had an overtime in a Super Bowl within the last 4 years, right? I mean, Chiefs, 49ers, that's pretty good. Doesn't get much better than overtime in a Super Bowl. We had Tom Brady coming back from 28-3 in a Super Bowl. Football is on a whole different level, but it's a fun conversation to have. It's Monday. We're talking sports. It's what we're supposed to be doing out here. The thing that really caught my interest was the overall groundswell of enthusiasm across the American sporting public. It seemed like everybody was watching that game. I mean, it was a very communal sports experience. It doesn't happen that often, except for the Super Bowl. And that part of it really resonated. Like, wait a minute, this is baseball, and it involves a team from Canada. Like, that's one of the two teams here. That's pretty impressive. So I hope baseball can enjoy the moment and get its labor situation figured out and, keep moving forward with this product that really, checked all the boxes. And we saw it in all of its glory on Saturday, Dream.
Yeah, you got to go back to the 90s to, remember a time where baseball was this relevant and captured America's attention. Like growing up, obviously baseball was, American sport, but now that's football. Football runs everything. But as far as your question, it being the best sporting event of the last decade, I mean, it's very tough to say that, but it's definitely the best World Series I've seen. But I mean, we've seen a lot of great sporting events. I mean, we've seen, Ray Allen hit a clutch 3, and I was in the arena for that. So it's going to be very.
To give you some perspective, that Ray Allen shot was in 2013. I said
wow.
The last decade. That's beyond a decade, big boy. Just saying it. Listen, I get you guys' point. House, you mentioned the Niners, Chiefs, and the Super Bowl. I'm sure you can pull a variety of different sporting events out there. But Raheem, I think the bigger picture is, to your point, baseball really made a resurgence and a comeback in a big way. You think about the big stars the sport has. You think about the idea of the Dodgers being this dynasty, first team to go back-to-back since the Yankees in the late 1990s. And as far as like moving the needle, Yeah, like early 2000s Yankees, Red Sox, feel like is the last time the sport has really moved the needle. I know you had Indians, Cubs. I know you've had moments, don't get me wrong. Best game 7 in baseball I've ever seen. But from an odds standpoint, Raheem, you were at the book on Saturday night. That must have been a wild swing. Obviously, a ton of Dodger fans, but Dodgers were plus 400 live going into the 9th inning. Then it felt like Toronto was going to win the game a variety of different times. Like from a ride the roller coaster of game odds and MVP odds. I mean, that was off the freaking rails.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. Like, when I think it was in extra innings when Yamamoto was on, and I think he just hit a pitcher, hit a batter. And Toronto had all those guys on. I think it was like plus 380 at that point in time with one out. So, and it just looked like Toronto was going to end that game. And then, obviously, like if the guy takes a lead, they score that run right there. So
easy, or runs right through home plate. You slow yourself down by sliding. You do.
Yeah.
It's like running through first base house. You got to run right through that sucker.
It's crazy. The craziest thing to me, honestly, our threads were all about MVP. Nobody, it didn't seem like amongst our crew, was live betting the outcome of the baseball game, which is not like us. Somebody usually has something where we're riding that roller coaster, especially baseball, where anything can happen at any moment. Everything changes like that. Why didn't any of us have those live bets? Nobody on our crew. Did you get a plus 400 in the 9th inning?
No, and the reason why I didn't is, mind you, I had my bet of Dodger to win series, Blue Jay game 1. I took a little hedge, mainly due to the fact that I wanted to root for Toronto in game 7. It had nothing to do with the finances of it. I just didn't want to be in a spot where it was all my liability was on the Dodgers, and yet my heart is pulling for Don Mattingly. My heart's pulling for the Blue Jays. So for the gambling audience out there, I'm well aware of how stupid that might have been. It was not a quote-unquote hedge. It was me rooting with my heart for Toronto. So just throwing that out there. But no, Raheem, I didn't get involved with the Dodgers for the reason, hey, I was already invested in the series myself.
I think it was one of those games to where if you were live betting the Dodgers, you were literally gambling. Like, I mean, it's like sometimes it's cool to take a shot, but there was nothing that said, I mean, and I had the gut feeling that the Dodgers would, do something, but it's just all gut feeling. There's nothing that says, all right, you're going to get a Miguel Rojas game tying home run with one out in the bottom of the ninth. There's nothing that says that. There's nothing that says Yamamoto is going to get out of that jam that he was in. And so it's just, it looked like Toronto had so many chances to put this away that I don't know how you bet on that without saying, you know what, I'm just going to take a shot and it's going to be a complete lottery ticket. And whatever happens, I'm cool with it.
Boys, it was amazing. I loved every second of it. I think baseball, to your point, House, has some serious juju going into next year, and they better not screw it up with their labor negotiations, because you got Ohtani, you got the Dodgers going for a three-peat, you have the Yankees and Aaron Judge trying to get his first championship, the Mets, the Phillies. I mean, the Red Sox. You got Seattle, obviously trying to win and get to that first World Series. Great spot for the sport. Okay, we move on now to what was a rather eventful Week 9 in the NFL. And this is where I want to start, House. The parlays and the teasers got absolutely blown up to the high heavens because specifically of two teams within the AFC or the NFC North. The Packers losing outright as 13.5-point favorites to Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. Then you had the Lions, who everybody loved, and you wisely audibled out of that wise wager because of how public Detroit was in their game against Minnesota. Minnesota and McCarthy respond. They have some new life in their particular season. Who would be more concerning to you from what you saw on Sunday? The Packers or the Lions?
To me, it's Detroit, and it's not even close. I mean, for them to come in, they were not prepared. They weren't prepared to deal with a Flores defense. They weren't prepared to execute on special teams. They had special teams miscues. They committed a ton of penalties. They self-sabotaged at every juncture. And this was exactly the thing that folks were concerned about coming into the season. It's why some smart folks looking at the Detroit Lions coming into the season faded them, said that they might miss the playoffs. The idea is that it's very, very, very challenging to deal with the fact that you have two coordinators go abroad. It's hard to just, continue on the fly to maintain the continuity. Now, the argument against that was, look, it's the players are there. The players know how to play. They still had across the board. They still have, not even past tense, across the board, a ton of talent on both sides of the ball. Yes, the secondary was depleted, but they were outcoached, and that's something we haven't seen out of a Dan Campbell situation, really in this era, this run that they've been on over the last 3 to 4 years, with Goff at quarterback. But they were behind and they self-sabotaged, and they have a hard schedule continuing in front of them as the division winner last year. And I think, we might want to take a look at those odds about Detroit. Now, I'm not ready to, cast them aside. The NFC isn't exactly chock full of teams nipping on their heels to replace them in terms of the playoffs. But, we did this exercise last week. We have our 7 NFC playoff teams already locked in. The parlay was plus 340 last Sunday. Here we have Carolina and I guess you would say the Bears saying, not so fast, my friend. Dree, that's kind of my sense of it. Detroit, by far, to me, the more disappointing of the two. The Packers have been playing with their food all season long. It's just the way it's going to be.
Well, the NFC North in general, I think you could say the same thing about the Packers and the Lions. I mean, the Packers lost Tucker Kraft yesterday, and I think that's such a huge loss because he's such a big part of their offense. And it appears that this Packers offense just hasn't been consistent, and I don't know if it ever will be. But when it comes to the Lions, I think, that was a game that you probably could say was probably one in the off season with Brian Flores really prepping, because this Lions team has absolutely dominated this team over the last 7 games, 6-1 in the last 7 games before yesterday. And finally, you got to see them get some pressure on Jared Goff. I mean, they sacked him 5 times. I think Andrew Van Ginkel, his presence was incredible. And then obviously you look at the offensive line injuries for the Lions. That was an issue. The fact that Frank Ragnow retired, that was an issue. You got to see all of the things that we thought would happen to the Lions this season come to fruition in that same game. So it was a very interesting game. I think both teams in the NFC North, they have some issues that they got to work out.
No question. And I understand your point, House, on Detroit. Green Bay. This is my issue with Green Bay. People look at this team and they want to tell me they're the best team in the NFC. I see way too many of these sort of performances, specifically from Jordan Love, where Jordan Love in the second half against the Pittsburgh Steelers could not have looked more lights out, could not have looked more dialed in. The Packers a week ago, you got to be sitting there saying to yourselves, this is the look of a Super Bowl team. And then I watch them in this game against Carolina where I'm like, hold on a second. This team's going to go now and win multiple games in the postseason. There's something off about the eye test to me of the Green Bay Packers. And you throw in the fact, to Raheem's point, that Mr. Kraft is done for the year, which is an enormous, enormous problem for what they want to do as far as the red zone, as far as what they want to do on third down. Obviously, there is a chemistry and a comfort level that Jordan Love has with his tight end. Look, Green Bay's going to be in the playoffs. I'm not suggesting that they're not, but we're grading Green Bay, to me, on a different curve. It's the idea of making that next step of being a Super Bowl team, and I, for one, don't see it. From what I've seen this year, the Green Bay Packers, to me, Raheem, do not look like a team that's going to go and win multiple games in January. That's all.
You know what, JJ, I think this is very interesting because you've been saying it all year. And I think this is the Green Bay Packers are a discussion between what you see in the box score, the stats and analytics, and the eye test. Because if you look at the box score of that game, the Packers kind of dominated that game. They moved the ball up and down the field. They had more first downs, more total yardage, little less rushing yards, but they got into the red zone 5 times and were 1 of 5 in the red zone. And as somebody, I mean, all of the stats people will tell you stuff like that should regress for them, but it hasn't. But at the same time, I see what you mean about the eye test, because you look at that 4th and 6 that Jordan Love has, he probably throws one of the worst passes I've ever seen. What was that? So it's kind of like, how do you balance the fact that the metrics say that this is probably one of the best teams in the NFC versus the eye test. And I'm tending to lean towards your direction at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean that the Packers had this many punts. I'm holding up a 0. No punts. They held Bryce Young to 102 passing yards. Like if you walked up to somebody in advance of 1 o'clock yesterday and said to them, "Here, I'm going to tell you 2 facts about this Green Bay Carolina game. Bryce Bryce Young's going to throw for 102 yards and Green Bay's not going to punt ever. Now tell me the score. What do you think the outcome? You know what I mean? It's ridiculous." But look, I have gotten to the point. There was no way it made any sense to lay 13.5 with that Packers team. That was just a pure, off of that Pittsburgh situation.
And I was the dumb one to take it because I thought the game against Pittsburgh was a sign of things to come. And they didn't play particularly well in that Pittsburgh game. That first half, it was like, all right, what are you doing? So I thought, some of what they did in the second half would carry over. And then I also thought, Carolina on the road, they haven't been good under Bryce Young. And JJ, look ahead, look out. They're 5-1 to win the division.
It's a big win. And a lot will have to do with those heads-up matchups, Raheem. Obviously, we'll have an interesting game with New England and Tampa that I want to get to a little bit later on in the show when we do our look-ahead lines. Real quick, and yeah, I don't have a lot of trust. I know in the regular season you'll get there. In January, I don't trust Love and I don't trust LaFleur. The odds to win the NFC North, I have to bring them up because Chicago had a crazy, crazy win against Cincinnati, defense optional in that game. Minnesota, obviously a big win against Detroit, but they have a long way to go. Odds to win the North House. Packers plus 110, Lions plus 130, Bears 9-1, Vikings 13-1. Thoughts?
It's Packers. I just play that Packers plus money if I had to play anything. I think that the problems that Detroit has that we identified at the beginning of the year will persist throughout the balance of this year. This is a tiny bit of a reset year. I do think Detroit still to make the playoffs is fine, but I ultimately the talent on Green Bay will win out, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, they lost 2 games here to the Browns and to the Panthers. They gave up a total of 29 points in those 2 games. So it's not the defense is not the issue.
From a value perspective, give me the Bears.
I knew you were going there.
I think the Bears have had some fraudulent wins, but the fact that Ben Johnson has given them a running game that they haven't had in the past. And I'm not the biggest fan of Caleb Williams. This is a guy who runs himself into pressure, runs himself into sacks. It's almost annoying watching him play quarterback. It's like watching a guy who played 04 Madden with Michael Vick back in the day, where you just take off running and I can't stand watching him play quarterback. But I just think there's a organizational competence that they have right now. And I look at the Packers, you said it best. The eye test is I just don't like what I'm seeing. I don't like the fact that they lost Tucker Kraft. And then the Lions, obviously the offensive line is banged up. And then you saw yesterday, some of the injuries in the defensive backfield. It's concerning. You can throw in that team. So if I had to play anything in that division, it would be the 9-1 on the Bears.
Taking a shot. I think the Packers will win the division despite my skepticism on them come January. But I think that's where you got to kind of differentiate. They've already beaten Detroit heads up. LaFleur wins games in the regular season. I'm just telling you, what we've seen throughout the course of this regular season, this is just not a recipe for Green Bay to go and win multiple games against the likes of the Rams, the Eagles, Tampa Bay, whoever you want to throw my way.
The Seahawks.
Seahawks, who are obviously playing great, and good for you, Joe House, nailing that game against your Washington Seawards. One more takeaway I want to get from these games before we get to Monday Night Football. Raheem, Chiefs Bills. I didn't bet the game. I have to admit, though, kind of mad I didn't, and I'll tell you why. That game for Buffalo is everything. It just is in the regular season. And I'm not going to excuse Kansas City's performance. Kansas City, obviously, from a division standpoint, from an AFC standpoint, it's not a throwaway game for the Chiefs where it's like, oh, they got first place in the bag. Oh, they got the bye in the bag. They don't have none of that in the bag because they have to fight now just to get themselves in the postseason. They have a lot of work to do. But I do believe from the sort of emotional standpoint, Buffalo loses that game in January every year. And it's like the measuring stick game for them. No matter where they are, it's Josh Allen trying to take down Mahomes. It's the Bills trying to take down the Chiefs. And you just get them at their very best when they play this game in November. And I'm kind of mad I didn't make more of a compelling argument for that particular case because, dude, it's what we've been seeing in the regular season the last 5 years. Buffalo beats them in November, and then they go and lose to them in January. You know, like it just happens every single year.
I'm not gonna lie. Yesterday felt different to me. Like it felt.
It didn't for me. It didn't because I've seen this before, Raheem. I've seen this before.
It is funny. I'm going to interrupt Dream for 1 second. I wrote down Groundhog Day. There were two games. I feel like I've been watching for 20 years now. It was the Bills and the Chiefs, and it was the Steelers at home as underdog. I'm like, what are we doing? I've been watching this game for 20 years. I know exactly what's going on here. I was on the wrong side. Now, I didn't mess around with that Colts Steelers one. But, part of the challenge, Dream, coming into that Chiefs Bills game was, is this one different? Because, I made the argument on the show yesterday that this version of the Chiefs offense was far superior to what we'd seen in many of these matchups over the last 4 years or so. And this version of the Bills defense is much worse. The difference is still Josh Allen is a bad mother effer. And that man, what he does to that Chiefs defense, at least in the regular season, he had them dancing. They were all spinning. They were all, on their heels all game long because he creates this elasticity with the way that he gets to the line. He creates time, and all of a sudden, tight ends and running backs that you've never heard of are open all goddamn day long, and they move the ball down the field at will against that Chiefs defense.
See, I'm glad that you said that you felt like this was the best version of the Chiefs offense. I felt that way too. And that's why I thought this was different, because I go into this game thinking that this Buffalo Bills defense isn't good at all. I'm going into the game thinking, I don't know how they're going to stop Mahomes. And then they pressure Mahomes on more than 52% of his dropbacks, which is the 5th highest rate of Mahomes' career. And they generated all of this pressure only blitzing 3 times. So if you're telling me that the defense is going to play like that, because we know that Josh Allen has a high floor. We know that he's going to play at a certain level, and he's always played that way in the playoffs, in the regular season. The story of this game was the Bills defense and the Chiefs offensive line, because if the Chiefs are going to have problems on the offensive line and the Bills are going to be able to generate pressure, I think this was a sign of things to come. So I think now I'm kind of walking back my thoughts about maybe this Bills team is not good enough to win a Super Bowl, because yesterday showed me something, and they've beaten the 2 top contenders in the AFC. And I'm not going to say that no disrespect to Dabbundo, but the Colts and the Steelers are not in the same class as the Chiefs and the Ravens. And I know the Ravens
are right. I agree.
Yeah, I know the Ravens haven't played well. I know they've had injuries. The defense hasn't been good. Ultimately, there's 3 superhuman quarterbacks in the AFC. Well, Josh Allen beat the other 2.
Bottom line, if you're Buffalo in that house, you got to win this division, and you got to get home field throughout. I know Kansas City beat them there a couple of years ago, but Buffalo going on the road and winning multiple playoff games, I do not think will lead them to Santa Clara in the Super Bowl. And I know that's obvious conventional wisdom, but they're in a dogfight with the Patriots. The Patriots hung on for dear life Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons. That, to me, has got to be the mindset now if I'm McDermott and Allen. Hey, great win. We've beaten them before in the regular season, but we got to take care of our business now moving forward, win this division, be a 1 or 2 seed, and see the Chiefs again in Orchard Park, not at Arrowhead Stadium.
Totally agree with all of that, and I do think ultimately the Bills do pull it out and win that division.
Boys, let's get to Monday Night Football. It was my rat line of the week. It's still my rat line of the week. Arizona going into Dallas to take on the Cowboys. The line is at 3 on FanDuel. The total, 53.5. My goodness. I know Dak Prescott at home is usually cash money. The Arizona Cardinals have been incredibly underwhelming. They've been in a lot of games. They find ways to lose a whole lot of games. Dream, I think it's a rat to the high heavens What's your play? What's your feel? What's your take on Cardinals-Cowboys later on this season?
Yeah, this is a complete rat. I don't really want anything on this game. And I'm a little scarred from last week. The Dallas Cowboys, I thought that was the spot where I just thought their offense would travel, and apparently it doesn't, because you look at this Cowboys team, they're averaging 41 points per game at home. So they're a complete wagon at home. Now, I just don't know how you step in front of that Cowboys offense at home. But the defense is so bad that I don't know how you play them. You're talking about 31st in EPA per play. You're talking about 32nd in success rate. You're talking about 31st in dropback EPA per play. You're talking 30th in dropback success rate. And then we know they can't stop the run. They're bottom 2 and stopping the run as well. So a bet on the Cowboys is basically saying, look, they're going to score points. They're going to outscore this Cardinals team. Well, I think the Cardinals defense has been solid enough to, make them work for it. So I'm not going to play anything on this game as far as the side. I'm also not going to play the total. I think the way I'm going to approach this is that I think I'm going to look at the props. I'm going to go with Bam Knight over 48.5 rushing yards. I think the recipe for the Cardinals to have a chance to win this game is to try to keep that offense off the field for the Cowboys. And we know the Cowboys can't stop the run. They're bottom 2 in EPA per play against the run and success rate. So Bam Knight over 48.5 rushing yards. I think the Cowboys give us so many explosives, he should be able to get some yards.
I like it, Raheem. House, tough Monday night game. What's the thought process here?
I'm gonna try and keep it simple. I do think, that we've seen enough over the years that Dallas at home, Dallas on the bright lights. I like the idea of them against this Arizona team that looks so much in flux. They were everybody's darling coming into this season, to come out of that NFC West as a potential challenger for the NFC West. That kind of looks silly in retrospect. They have, this existential moment they're in with Kyler Murray. He is apparently healthy, but not starting, or healthy enough to play, but not starting. So I don't know exactly what's going on there. Does that translate into some kind of rah-rah moment for Arizona? I don't know. Their defense has been okay. They've only given up over 27 points once this season, that defense. The team total for Dallas is 28.5. The problem is that Dallas has not scored less than 40 points at home. They've scored their worst performance at home is 40 points, which they've done twice. So the way I'm playing it is Dallas on the money line and over 28.5 points. And again, that gets you a little plus 112 bet on the FanDuel Sportsbook.
Okay. Raheem, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Can I get a 3.5 by kickoff tonight?
I saw some 3.5s earlier, actually.
Because if I can, I think I'm going to fire on the Cardinals. Everything about this game screams rat.
Mm-hmm.
It just does. It seems too easy to just say Dallas at home, Dak at home, Cowboys at home. Everything about it seems like a layup. I can't take it. It's when it smells like a rat, more than likely it is a rat. If I get 3.5, I'm taking the Cardinals.
I don't think the 3.5s are coming back to FanDuel. If you look at FanDuel right now, they're at 3 minus 118.
So they're comfortable keeping it. They're going to make you pay the premium and take the Cowboys at minus 3.
Yeah, and it's like we were at 3.5 yesterday. Well, excuse me, not yesterday, on Halloween. At FanDuel. Like if you look at FanDuel,
so they're gonna keep it. They're gonna keep it at 3.
They're gonna keep it at 3 because I think they know that the majority of people betting at FanDuel are going to bet the Cowboys.
No
question. If there's one more I would add though, I think I got to take Jacoby Brissett over 248.5 passing yards.
Oh, I like that against this crummy defense.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to pass the ball. They're going to find themselves in spots to pass the ball. The Cowboys give up a ton of explosives. I think there's so many ways that this can win. If the Cardinals get behind, they're chasing points. If, they're playing just a regular game script, they can get there. So I think that would be my favorite bet, even over the Bam Knight prop.
I'm leaning towards taking Arizona. I don't love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's Arizona pass for me. I have 2 anytime touchdown props, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Tight ends. Jake Ferguson. Mr. McBride.
Mm-hmm.
I like both to score tonight. The tight ends have been good to me.
Mm-hmm.
They like looking to McBride in the end zone. It's a security blanket for a lot of different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And when you play Dallas, you're so focused on Pickens. You're so focused on Lamb. Ferguson can kind of slide in under the radar. This guy's had a very productive season. So give me Ferguson, give me McBride as 2 anytimes. We'll take a break. We'll get to the Mulligan. We'll get to some of the look-ahead lines for what is a fascinating Sunday, 6 days away. Anthony Dabbundo with 3 and out still to join us. And we'll see if Dabbundo would put Game 7 of the World Series, best sporting event of the decade. Curious to get his take on that. East Coast Bias, boys. We're coming right back. All right, boys. Before we look ahead to get to the bets that we want to make for week number 10, House, if there's one you'd like back, what's the game you'd like back from week 9?
Well, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to take a slightly different spin on it. The one I would
want, I don't care.
Because I did get myself out of all that Lions enthusiasm by the time the game rolled around. It's the one I didn't do. And I mean, I stared at the face. I dreamt of it. It was Pittsburgh. Like I could see that what transpired yesterday. And JJ, you did. You told us.
I bet it. But you know what,
is...
though, House? I'm a coward. Because for man's best bet, I said all week, I'm taking Pittsburgh again. And then, I don't know, just the thought of Indianapolis,
I
the
know.
great offense. I still bet the Steelers. I still took them plus 3.5 when the line moved to 3.5 in the morning. But I ended up taking your crummy team as my man's best bet. What a dumbass I am.
I'm sorry. I tried. I did try to get you away from that team. Yeah, not firing on Pittsburgh in that situation. Like, we've only been watching this for 20 years. Like, seriously, do we watch football or do we watch football? What are we doing? Tomlin back-to-back at home, underdog. You got to do something. I mean, Daniel Jones is going to go on the road, outdoors, to Pittsburgh, and continue the juggernaut, the freight train. Come on, what are we doing? So
the fact that line was the same exact line as the Packers line, and I think that was the tell. And I couldn't pull the trigger on that either. I just felt like it was just like, all right. I think there's sometimes when you see something great or you see something special, you kind of hope it keeps going, and you hope that it's not fraudulent. And I think that's where I caught myself. I'm like, you know what? Maybe the Colts do have something special going on.
We kept calling them the 2000 Rams. I mean, they were doing it yesterday morning. Well, we haven't seen an offense like this with come on, man, come on.
And you know, we kept waiting, and Daniel Jones is going to end up having an amazing statistical season. But in a way, Raheem, I kept waiting for that game where he's going to go and like turn into a pumpkin. That was the game he turned into a pumpkin. You know?
Yeah. But I mean, also, I think we had 8 games of evidence where the Steelers defense hasn't been good as they were in the past. And I think that's what threw a lot of us off. But for me, I think like yesterday was a bad day for me. I did not get much right at all. I mean, you'll have people on gambling shows tell you when they get it right and I brag about it. And I've done that myself, but I got to tell you guys, yesterday was not my day at all. I've caught some bad breaks. I thought the Chargers game was a bad break for me. I was going to say
the Chargers a bad break, Raheem. I'll give you a mulligan on that. And honestly, that's not one of those where they should have kicked the you-know-what out of the Titans. Herbert throws an inexplicable pick 6 early in the game. You get a punt return, and yet you still were in a position where you could have covered the number late.
Yeah, they only had 6 offensive points. But I think, some of my reads were just flat out off. Like I actually thought that the Packers would, go out there and step on Carolina. And that just didn't happen. I actually thought that the Chiefs were, we spoke about the Chiefs earlier, but I thought the Chiefs were one of the best offensive teams that we've seen in their era. And they kind of got completely stomped out. I just didn't have a good read on things yesterday. And then obviously we had the bad beat on Houston. So just an overall tough week for me.
See, I don't regret my Houston pick because I didn't have in the handicap that C.J. Stroud was going to get knocked out of the game the way that he did. And for what it's worth, sorry to sound like a bitter, vile human being, but I'm going to be bitter and vile at the moment. I think if C.J. Stroud plays that game, I end up winning my wise wager. But hey, that's the way it goes in showbiz. The two I regret, one, your commie game, House, where I thought it would be a Jaden Daniels ball-out performance, and Seattle said, I don't think so. We're going to keep flexing. and having skepticism on not firing on the Bills. I feel like I got scared off because of the brilliance of the Kansas City offense over the last few weeks. And everything about that spot screamed Buffalo, Buffalo, Buffalo. Quickly, House, before we do the look aheads for next week, your poor quarterback. He comes back, the gruesome arm injury. I got to assume, House, is he coming back at any point this year? You
No
probably
chance.
don't want to see him,
Zero.
right?
Zero chance. I mean, I've been on this program everywhere that I get a microphone in front of me for a couple weeks now, expressing my reservations around this Washington team. The only thing that matters for the franchise is 5 to be upright, and they put him in harm's way. There was no situation, no scenario, no explanation that anybody's going to be able to offer for him playing football with 7.5 minutes left in the goddamn game, down 31 points or whatever the situation was. Should not have been on the football field. The franchise has to answer for it. This is going to be, I'm sad to say, we're looking at a full 12 months now of the same kind of, speaking of Groundhog Day, same kind of institutional reordering. We'll see coaches get fired. We'll see big personnel changes. To what end? To what end? You have to build up something around 5 that is sustainable. And they don't have hardly any picks whatsoever in the 2026 draft. I've been saying for 2 weeks now, I sure hope as the trade deadline approaches, we see a bunch of these valuable vets that the team ekes out whatever it can get for Deebo Samuel, so for Laramie Tunsil, for Frankie Louvu, for any vet that any team in the NFL wants on this Washington roster and is willing to give up picks in the 2026 draft, get them all out. Give them away. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is 5 upright. He had 3 injuries this season, a knee, obviously the elbow and a hamstring, and that goes along with the ribs last year. That's 4 injuries that caused games to be missed inside of the first 20 games of this young man's career. Have to figure out a way to keep him upright. Otherwise, nothing else matters. And I'm not putting on the TV or the radio here in Washington or any of the national shows because the relitigating around whether Washington should have taken Drake May or should have taken Jaden, it's all underway right now. And Washington is doing that whole thing. Dream mentioned it in his Twitter feed last night. Does this look like RG3 all over again? Well, that was a Seattle game, 15 years ago with RG3. I can't go through it. I'm just keeping TV off. It's a beautiful fall day here in Washington. I'm gonna get outside and enjoy it.
Well, I forgot that was the Seattle game.
It sure was.
Wow. We living in a simulation or something. That's crazy.
I would
Sorry
laugh if I wasn't crying.
The audience needed the official state of the C words from our resident Washington, D.C. resident. You know what I mean? I needed to get that.
It's fine.
On the record. Okay.
Here we go.
Boys, week 10. Let's put you in a better mood, House. I'm starting with you. We have a very interesting card. There are a lot of good games next week. Baltimore, Minnesota is fascinating. New England, Tampa is incredibly fascinating. Rams, Niners, can't wait. Steelers, Chargers, can't wait. Eagles, Packers, can't wait. The moral of the story is it's a baller slate of games. There may be a stinker that you want to bet. Is there a bet you have already made for week number 10?
I really like the Ravens. I really like this Ravens team. I really think that this is this very weird era that we're in with Baltimore where they go through in-season transformation, and it's 2 consecutive years now where we're doing this rotating cast of characters depending on health and circumstance and situation. But I think they're poised to go on the run that we kind of forecasted. And we saw now, you would say, well, the Bears, did they really show us anything against the Bears? The Dolphins, did they really show us anything against the Dolphins? This feels like a very short number to me, 3.5. I know it's going on the road to Minnesota. I know Flores will have the blitz prepared, but come on, man. This if Lamar is healthy and they've had extra time to prepare for this Minnesota team, I didn't see anything out of JJ McCarthy yesterday. He made one great throw, which was the throw to Naylor that clinched the game. That was a great quarterback football throw, but he was negative success rate throwing the ball. He was under on completion percentage over expectation, negative. Like there was not anything about his performance, JJ McCarthy's performance yesterday, that say, oh yes, well look, this validates with the 5 weeks and it was all very productive. Nah, man. If Baltimore gets pass rush against that kid and Lamar has had this extra time to get himself right, the 3.5 feels short to me.
That was actually one I wanted to take as well. I agree with that. I think this line had Lamar Jackson not gotten hurt and we just play like a full season regularly, I think this line is 5. I think the Eagles were laying actually 2.5, and I'm pretty sure the Ravens are probably a point more than a point better than the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Eagles kind of got whatever they wanted. So I agree with this one. This was going to be on my list. I also like the Pittsburgh Steelers, Los Angeles Chargers under 44.5.
Oh, not the play I was looking for. Okay, make your case. Sorry, Raheem. You got me a little excited.
So the biggest thing with this one is that we saw the Los Angeles Chargers lose 2 tackles last week. Joe Alt is out. They also lost another guy. So we know this team can't really protect the quarterback. And you just saw the Steelers, they slowed down the best offense in football right now. And I think the Steelers offense might be a tad bit overrated. Chargers defense has been playing better as of late. I think this total is a little bit too high. I think we can kind of see a grinded out game. And then the other one I like, and it's unfortunate, this one's moved before we got on air, but I like the Rams. It's at 3.5 now against the San Francisco 49ers. I think the 49ers, obviously, they played the Giants. They beat up on a bad Giants team. Giants took some money, and the Rams were laying 7 on the they were laying 7 at home against the 49ers. I think the line should probably be like, it shouldn't be 7, obviously. They're on the road, but I think this line is pretty short. So I'm going to take the Rams. I don't know if Brock Purdy is going to be ruled in, so you can kind of wait this one out. But if he is, I still like the Rams.
You know, you guys hit on a couple of spots that I absolutely enjoy this week. I'm going to give you 3. Now, one of the bets I made, and the number already moved. I took the Steelers plus 3.5 against the Chargers because of that Joe Alt injury. It is now down to 3 on FanDuel. I'll take it a step further. Steelers are covering the game. Steelers are winning the game. And also, another little element at play. That crowd in Los Angeles is going to be 85% Steeler fans. No exaggeration. 85% Steeler fans. So it's going to be a home game, a bad Charger offensive line, and a Steeler team that maybe found a little something on defense. I love the Steelers. The Raven game, I like House. The only fear factor I have with that one, the reason I haven't made that bet, Brian Flores, when he was head coach of the Miami Dolphins, drew up an unbelievable game plan to destroy Lamar Jackson on a Thursday night, and I'm getting that PTSD in my mind. So from that standpoint, I'm like, yeah, I'll stay away. I like the Rams, Raheem. I like the Rams. It's a revenge spot for them after San Francisco beat them on Thursday night a couple of weeks ago. I know Shanahan owns McVay head-to-head in the regular season, but I think the Rams are the right side in that game. The one I'm making, sorry, Simmons, I love the Buccaneers laying the 2.5 against New England next week.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you there.
Oh, I love Tampa Bay. They're coming off a bye. They're going to be a healthier team. New England, they're due for their humbling. Just like Indianapolis got their humbling a week ago or a day ago, whatever the hell it was. New England's getting their humbling against the Bucs. So, Bucs,
yeah, I love that one.
Those are 2 bets I've absolutely made for week number 10. All right, quick break. 3 and out. Anthony Dabbundo licking his wounds from the Colts, but hey, text it under. I mean, when in doubt, text it under, text it under, text it under. The gift that keeps on giving. We'll come right back. We welcome in Anthony Dabbundo. It's time for 3 and out. I'd say I'm sorry about your Colts, but when you hit another text and under, life is good, AD.
Life is good. Just got back from Northwest Stadium, they're calling it now, in Maryland this morning.
Why'd you go to that game?
Got to support my second team.
I hate that you have a second team, by the way. Like that agitates me. I'm not gonna lie, it agitates me.
Oh man,
it was a great experience. There was a Commanders fan like in the front row, right behind the Seattle bench, and he was just giving it to the Seattle guys the whole first half. But sorry, not the whole first half, the whole pregame. And then
I was
every
like, it couldn't have been the whole first half
Yeah,
because
There
and then-
wasn't much to say in that first half.
and then
so if you were
the
talking
guys-
shit, more power to you.
the guys came over and started talking shit back to him, like the players on the
Nice.
Seahawks. So it
I
was
like
a
that.
really funny back and forth dialogue, domination from Mike McDonald and the boys. The Seahawks, Clint Kubiak, maybe the best coordinator job in the NFL this year. Offensive coordinator for Seattle, the play action game, the domination of that offense. Sam Darnold, no incompletions in the first half. Really, like one of the most complete performances of the entire season. Was thrilled to watch it and put the Colts disaster out of my mind. I mean, every time I looked up, there was another turnover. 6 turnovers, JJ? 6?
That's some Steeler voodoo for you, big boy.
Yeah. As soon as the Downs fumble happened, I know the Steelers didn't score off of it, but as soon as the Downs fumble happened on the punt return, I said, this is not going to go well for us.
It's gonna
And
be
Pittsburgh's
one of those
offense,
games. Listen, you know what?
Pittsburgh's offense did nothing.
You would do for one of these games, right? Like, listen, you were 7-1. I understand you have dreams of bigger things this year, right? Like you want to win a division, you want to win a playoff game. Well, you aren't going to go 15-2 this year, big boy. Come on.
Right. That's why I'm okay with it.
Good.
Well, back
Go ahead.
next week. We're in for the first time all year. The Colts have an island game in Berlin.
wow.
They're playing in Munich, Germany, right?
That's right. Now, Bob, it's in
Frankfurt.
Berlin.
Oh, Berlin. Okay, close enough.
Yeah,
There we go.
close
Third
enough.
time's the
German
charm.
city. At the Olympiastadion. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be the whole nation's chance to see Daniel Jones because really we've been a red zone team. We haven't really been in an island situation really at any point this year. So if the O-line holds up, they had their first really bad game of the season yesterday. If they hold up, I'll feel much better. But it's a big pivot game heading into the bye with Kansas City coming out of the bye. So
Buckle up. Okay, now it's your time to shine. You attended the Seahawks Commie game. Your Colts lose for the first time in forever, but takes. We want them. Let's go.
yeah, let's talk about the Lions offense because I, similar to Joe House, went into the week loving Detroit. By Sunday, had a lot of money on Detroit. And then the more I looked at the game, the less I felt good about it. Now, that being said, we used it in the Ringer 107. I bet it. It was in my betting column. I took the L. It's my mulligan of the week. Probably the game I was most wrong about. This offense is just not executing at the same level anywhere close to what they were last year. And it really shows up in the data. I mean, they had a huge week 2 when the Bears' entire secondary was out. They had a huge week 3 against Baltimore when they were able to just run the ball over and over again. Since that game, so since week 4, Detroit is 21st in EPA per drive, 23rd in success rate, and they had no plan for the interior pressure that the Vikings were able to bring yesterday. I mean, every time they cut to the game on Red Zone, because we were driving down, so I had to watch a lot more Red Zone than I like to yesterday, it was just Goff getting interior pressure, getting sacked, and then not really having any answer for it. And so I pose this. Knowing what we know now about the Ravens defense at the time that they played them, what is the impressive offensive performance for Detroit? Because I would say it wasn't the Tampa game. I didn't think their offense was very good
No,
in
they
that
were
game.
not. They were underwhelming in that Tampa game. They
It
left a
certainly
lot of meat on
wasn't the
bone.
KC game where they came up very short in the second half. The Bengal game, most of their offensive success in that game was driven by Browning turnovers.
Doesn't count, and the Bengals are an absolute.
And the Bengals are a
defense.
historically bad defense. So I just start to look at this Lions team, and I think that, a lot of people came into the season with skepticism. A lot of people took victory laps, including Raheem after week 1. Then they had to walk it back. But maybe, as we sit here now in week 9, week 10, we're sitting here wondering just how good is Detroit? Where do you rank Detroit amongst the NFC contenders on power ratings, on ability to make a deep playoff run? Where would you rank Detroit? Because I think it's a really interesting
That's
exercise.
a great question. Can I weigh in on this? I want to jump
Yeah,
in
you
right away.
Please
All of
go
you-
ahead.
all of
Take
you.
it
This is
away.
I would put them behind the Rams.
Okay.
I would put them behind my Buccaneers, despite the fact that they beat the Buccaneers. Tampa was absolutely destroyed going into that game. I'll put Tampa ahead of them. Even though I am not a believer that Love and LaFleur are going to win in January, we talked about it earlier in the show. I think the Packers will win the NFC North, and I would put Green Bay ahead of them, and I would put Philadelphia ahead of them.
Oh, you
So-
missing the most important teams.
Seattle?
Seattle, to me,
Sure,
the two
put
best
Seattle in
teams in the
too, but I didn't
NFC
get there. Okay.
are Seattle and Los Angeles, the Rams. I think
have
those
the
are the two
Rams.
best.
To me, the Rams right now are the best team in the NFC, in my opinion.
To me, those are the
Go
two
with me.
best. Those are the two best teams. And then, I mean, you could look at a team like Philadelphia, and obviously they trade for Jalen Phillips. And I think how they've played, you could kind of project that maybe they'll be better than how they've played thus far.
There's going to be an upward trajectory with them.
Yeah.
Phillips is going to help a ton in that. He played in Fangio's system. He's playing for a contract. The Eagles never lose these sort of trades. I think Phillips is going to go in there and bowl out as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah.
So there's my answer, Dabbundo. I think like fifth.
Fifth. All right. So you like Washington plus 8.5 this weekend? Because if you think that all those teams are, that's the thing. And you know, we were going to get into the conversation about games you already bet for next week. All right, so there's like a 5-point adjustment for Daniels to Mariota. So now it's 8.5 at home. Detroit off a loss covers 108% of the time.
I know.
Everybody that you know, anybody who talks about gambling, anybody who bets on the NFL is probably going to bet Detroit this week. The NFL in Predict betting market ratings, which is a site that I love to use to kind of just compare to my own ratings that say, okay, I have Kansas City as number 1. Where does the betting market say? The betting odds, and some of this I think is because of the inflation on the Commanders now, or the deflation on the Commanders. They have Detroit number 2 in the league, number 1 in the NFC.
That has to
just barely ahead
wrong.
of the Rams, Packers.
They're allowed to be wrong.
They're allowed to be wrong.
You know what it is?
But if they're wrong, we should be betting it, right? Shouldn't we be betting the Commanders?
I guarantee you those rankings
You
have
can.
priors.
I won't.
They have to have priors in.
This is just the betting odds, Raheem. You can like extrapolate last week's odds, this week's odds, next week's odds, and come up with like what the betting market would rank every team on a neutral.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an exact science, but it's like pretty close. And it says that Detroit would be about a half point better than the Rams, about a full point better than the Packers. You know, downgrade for Kraft there, baked in, and about a 1.5 better than the Eagles. We're gonna get Detroit at Philly in 2 weeks. That's the spot I have circled.
So you're saying, you know, based on the market ratings, you think Detroit should be the play next week?
No, they should be faded. Detroit is
faded.
Overrated. If we all agree,
I got you.
Because I agree with you guys.
I misheard you.
I agree the Rams are better. I agree the Packers are better. I think the Eagles are neutral.
They're
depend on the secondary, but I think they're better.
They're better. Seahawks are better.
I can't
Tampa's
get you there
even.
with Bucks,
I have Detroit.
The Bucks are better too.
Yeah, I have Detroit 6th. They're behind the Rams. They're behind Seattle.
I like
they're behind the Packers. They're behind the Bucks. They're 6th, and that's fine. We can go right to a betting market right now and find value if you believe the rankings are what they are. The Detroit is mispriced at plus 480 to win the NFC conference, and they're the 3rd ranked team behind Philadelphia and the Rams. I'd rather have a ticket for Seattle at 6-1 going into that NFC conference championship game. Let me have a ticket on Seattle there because I can hedge out of it. What I want is for them to get there. I don't need them to win at 6-1. I need them to get there. But this gives me a great opportunity to have this overinflated Detroit sitting there at plus 480.
Well, I think so. I was thinking about what's the best way to play this. I still love the Packers. I'm sorry. You're not going to get me to quit them. Kraft is a huge loss, undeniable loss to that team.
Gigantic.
But this defense is still really freaking good. I mean, this defense
really
has been
good.
Lights out. They had that 2-week stretch where they couldn't get off the field on 3rd down. It was kind of noisy. But all of the Packers, and Raheem mentioned this, all of the Packers negativity is kind of like, oh, they had a bad red zone game here, or Love shit the bed here, or that defense had the one bad game in prime time that everybody watched. This team is still really good at generating havoc. They're still really good at preventing explosive plays. The Packers, I think some of it is because they have so many different options and they've had so many different injuries amongst their receivers, and the O-line has not been the same O-line. Therefore, the running game hasn't been as good. But I still think the Green Bay ceiling is right there with anybody. So my question is, okay, Green Bay's ahead now. They're playing Detroit on Thanksgiving. They're still plus money to win the division. Can I interest you guys in investing more in Green Bay to win the NFC North right now?
I already bet it. So to me, I already have it from the beginning of the year.
Okay.
A price that I'm satisfied with. I'm not adding more liability to it. I think they're going to get there, Dabbundo. I think they're going to win it. My fears with Green Bay, again, I'm not grading them on a regular season curve because I looked at them as a team going into the year as a team that could win the Super Bowl. I have serious LaFleur wins regular season games. I don't trust him in January, and I don't trust Love in January. I don't. I don't.
The big problem to me, Dream, is AD touched on it. They can't run the football. They're bottom 5 in run block win rate. That's just one metric. But if you go across the board in terms of their ability to establish a run, you have to run the football to win in the playoffs. So this is a fun discussion to be having right now, week 9 going into week 10. But we're trying to forecast it. Are there some futures that have some value on them? Let's get some evidence that the Green Bay Packers can run the football. Because if you have that defense, the defense is excellent. I have no qualms whatsoever in investing in Green Bay because the defense certainly supports the investment. I got to see them run the football, establish the run. That's my challenge to them over the second half of this season. That's how these tickets that we have on Green Bay. I'm in the same place as JJ. I bought Green Bay tickets.
I'm struggling to see any value on Green Bay to win a division at plus 110. Like you got a game against the Eagles this week where you're dogs.
No, they're favored.
They are favored.
Oh, they're favored. I'm sorry.
I mean, but it's a coin flippy type game.
Yeah, but I mean, you have a game against the Eagles this weekend. Oh, in fact, they're home. I'm sorry. I thought they were on the road. But you still got a game against the Eagles this weekend. And I just think that's a tough game. And then you still got 2 games against the Bears.
I'm not worried about the Bears.
You got 2 games against no, but hear me out. You got 2 games against the Bears, a divisional opponent who, I mean, they played them tough last year. Probably should have won. You got a game against the Ravens, and you close on the road at the Vikings. Like, look at the last 4 games that are scheduled. On the road at Denver, on the road at Chicago, Ravens, and then on the road at the Vikings. Like, I just, to me, at plus 110, like, I still think the best value on is as bad as the Bears are, and as fraudulent as many of their wins are.
No way, man.
At 9-1. At 9-1. I just think, like, if I have to bet anybody in that division, that's what I'm betting on, because I just think the Packers could lose this week, and they got another game against the Lions. They got 2 games. They have all of these division games coming up, and I just don't see how, like, at plus 110, you're basically saying they have to win the division, what, 47% of the time?
I mean, I think it is a 2-team race, though. And I'm picking, and no disrespect to the Bears. Like, okay, look, I mean, we could do the Bears schedule here. They beat Dallas. They had that stretch with all the turnovers, right? They beat the 2 worst defenses in the NFL, Dallas and Cincinnati. They're number 1 right now in explosive play rate. I saw Nate Tice tweeted that this morning, and I was like, wow, like, that's crazy. Let me pull up the week-by-week data. And it turns out, like, all of their explosive plays pretty much came in 2 games. When they ran it up on Dallas, and when they ran it up the last couple of weeks on some bad defenses, Baltimore and Cincinnati. Like, that, those are all their big plays. So I don't think this offense is actually that good. I know they've run the ball better, but, like, what's their big win?
I mean, I think, look, believe me, I think the Bears are fraudulent.
Yeah.
But
so I can't see them winning.
The
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, Green Bay.
Here's the thing. With Green Bay at plus 110, you're saying that the Packers win this division more than 47% of the time. At 9-1, I'm
more
saying
than 50. That's my thing.
At 9-1,
on that, AD. I think
at 9-1
as well.
At 9-1 on the Bears, I'm saying that there's probably a little more than 10% chance that they win this division, especially when you consider the injuries that the Packers and the Lions have had. I think there's value there. And I'm not a fan of this Bears team, but I don't see anybody running away with this division at all. I think everybody is tough. You just saw yesterday, JJ McCarthy went into Detroit and beat the Lions. And I mean, granted, a lot of that was on the defense, but that tells you how close, how evenly matched this division is.
Okay. Take 2. A lot of NFC North chatter, a lot of Packer chatter, a lot of Packer all over this pod.
If I get a 3rd team, and I might have to show up next week with a new hat, just Green Bay, big G.
I know you've worn it before.
I have it. I have a cheese head.
I know you do. I know.
I'm thinking about it. I don't know. I like the Packers.
3rd team.
So I got to ask you this. I'm sorry.
Again,
not to harp on this point.
Teams,
what would you project?
So
you think the Packers are like more than 50% to win the division? How would you project the rest of the division? I mean, like in terms of the Lions, even the Vikings, and the Bears. So it's like,
I haven't actually run this out, so I shouldn't.
I mean, you can just ballpark it. I mean, just for conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chicago would need to pull off another run like they just had with their 4 games where they forced 15 turnovers. I mean, that defense gave up 100,000 points to Flacco yesterday.
To Joe Flacco.
Yeah,
they blew multiple leads, and honestly, like, Chicago running all over Cincinnati and having a good run game is nice, but like I need to see it against better defenses because like they've run the ball, and this was in my betting column. I like the Bears and I like the over yesterday, but like they have had a much better run game since the bye. But then you look at the opponents and you're like, oh yeah, no kidding. They played some of the worst defenses and the worst run defenses, especially in the NFL, playing against New Orleans. They got to play the Commanders. They got to play the Bengals.
And they're about to play the Giants next.
And they're about to play the Giants, who are also a bad run defense. So, yeah, I mean, the Bears.
And that's my point. It's like this number, it's like, to me, it's more about the number than how I feel about the Bears. Like
we can make a lot of money betting against the Bears then. Do we wait until they win this week? They're 6-3.
Are we sure they win this week?
That's a good point. And then they're going to have.
I'm sure they win this week.
Their last 4 road games are at Minnesota, at Philly, at Green Bay, at San Francisco. They also host Green Bay and Detroit in December.
Sounds like a lot of losses. If you
exactly, that's why I think they're dead for this division.
I agree.
I mean, they're not dead.
I think the division. I think the division is going to be decided in that last 4 weeks between all, like pretty much the entire division. I think it's wide open. Like I truly believe that.
Okay.
I think the Thanksgiving game, if Green Bay wins that, it's kind of
all right. Time out. We'll move on to take 2. I've had enough.
Yeah.
I've had enough. Take 2.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Okay, take 2. We're going to go back to the kind of like the ranking discussion. And I want to get back to this because it's really interesting. The top 3 teams in the NFL by the betting markets all lost: Kansas City, Green Bay, and Detroit. Who are the 3 best teams in the NFL right now? And is one of them still just the Chiefs, number 1, and they had a bad game in Buffalo, which they tend to do from time to time? Or do you think the market is too high on the Chiefs?
Okay. Yes, Kansas City would be in my top 3. Now, this is not me running any sort of number. This is literally me. I love being put on the spot. This is my life in a nutshell, Anthony Dabbundo.
Have a take.
I appreciate it. That's what we do. I see someone, I give them a reaction. I think the 3 best teams right now in the NFL: Kansas City, the Los Angeles Rams. I absolutely would have the Rams in that conversation. Who would I put number 3? You know, I really don't want to be a prisoner in the moment and put the Buffalo Bills there. I'm not putting Seattle. I'm not putting the Packers. As much as I like the Bucs, I'm not putting them.
It's got to be Buffalo then.
Eagles. Sorry, I can't put the Colts there.
No, I've never had the Colts top 5.
But I'm going to say
for all my
top
respect
3,
for Daniel Jones.
Kansas City, the Rams, and Buffalo House. Those are my top 3 teams right now.
Pretty good. I don't have any issue with that. I'm going back to where I started this entire NFL season. The 3 best teams are all in the AFC. It's the Bills, it's the Ravens, and it's the Chiefs. Those are the 3 best teams.
Wow.
Oh,
all right.
Okay,
I like
back.
it.
He's all the way back. Raheem?
This is so hard for me because I think when you look at things from a numbers perspective, you're going to have different teams. So, like, you're going to have Indianapolis, the Rams, and Seattle, just from, a pure numbers standpoint. But, football. Yeah, I mean, football is not played in analytics, and it's not played in point differential. And obviously, when it comes to the postseason, having one of those superhuman quarterbacks matters. So I think you kind of got to have the Chiefs. You kind of got to have the Bills. But I just think the Rams and the Seahawks are right there with them. And obviously, I mean, the Rams have Matthew Stafford. So, but I think those are the teams right now. Just being fair, trying to have a balance between,
AFC and NFC.
No, not the AFC and NFC, but betting on the come versus, the numbers that we see now.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And
so a month ago, I tweeted my 3, and a lot of people got mad at me. I had Green Bay, Kansas City, Buffalo. It was right after Buffalo got beat on Monday night. I said I had Green Bay. Yeah. Green Bay, Kansas City, and Buffalo. And what we've seen in the last month, the only team that I would put in the conversation with those 3 right now is the Rams.
Good.
You go back and now you look at the Rams and you're like, okay, they lost to the Eagles on a crazy collapse with 2 blocked field goals. They lost to the Niners on a wonky Thursday night game where they fumbled inside the 1-yard line going in to win the game. Other than that, they've been really, really good week in and week out, dominating time of possession, dominating up the line of scrimmage. I still have questions about their secondary. They're not a great short yardage team. Like, there are ways to beat this Rams squad, but I think they're worthy of an upgrade to be, above Green Bay, just barely in that top 3. But I still think that, what we saw from yesterday from Buffalo vaults them up to number 2. So I'm KC, Buffalo, LA, Green Bay. Those are my top 4, and leads us well into this week because we've got one of those teams is at home laying less than a field goal.
Okay. Now we need the bet that you're going to make as take number 3, Mr. Dabbundo. What's the bet you can't wait to make for week 10?
Green Bay minus 2.5 at home against the Philadelphia Eagles.
You just can't quit them, huh?
Can't quit him. Sal's going to hate me in the 107 when I bring it up. He's not going to like it. I get it. I understand. Philly's off the bye. Philly did just have their best game of the season offensively. They ran the ball extremely well on the Giants. Don't know how much that means when we watch the Giants then get completely pantsed by San Francisco defensively yesterday. I still think that even with the addition of Phillips, like, this defense has real flaws. They're 19th in EPA per drive so far this season. Everybody that has a good, pretty much everybody's moved the ball on them. You go back to even just week 1, Dallas, the Rams were up and down the field on them. Tampa Bay hit big plays. This offense will be able to move the ball, but I trust Green Bay at home. I have them rated as the slightly better team, and that's a pretty good home field, and it's a primetime game off a loss. I think Green Bay is short unless they're 3. I know the Eagles were underdogs 4 times last year. They won all 4 by an average margin of 11 points. That's a scary thought. I think the Eagles would be a popular teaser pick, but I did lay Green Bay this morning because I am a lover for the cheese.
Before we get to best bets, AD, best sporting event you've seen this decade? Game 7 in the World Series, Saturday night?
I mean, I can't say that. I will say the 2022 World Cup final.
Oh, you had to give me soccer, of course.
I mean, it is the World Cup.
I mean,
it's Argentina. It's Lionel Messi.
Did they penalty kick
greatest
that?
of all
You
time.
gotta go and give me the World Cup.
Were they penalty kicking
I'm
that?
gonna kill you.
The drama of the last 45 minutes of that match was some of the greatest you'll ever see in sports. And it like, I understand that this is an American, audience. We are all Americans, but there is something about the literal greatest soccer player of all time kind of capping off. I mean, he's still playing, so his career's not over, but like capping off his career, so to speak, with the elusive World Cup trophy that they had come so close to in 2014. They lost in stoppage time, and they had all these major close calls for Messi to score in the final, to make his penalty, to survive the onslaught of Mbappe and the French team that had won the previous World Cup. All of that was so dramatic, and it really, like, the back and forth nature. I know soccer is boring to a lot of people, but like the back and forth nature of that final 30 minutes when both teams had so many chances to score, we end up in a penalty shootout. Messi wins. Like, that was as good as it gets for me. But I love baseball too. Don't get me wrong. I love the World Series. I thought it was an incredible series. That would probably be in the top 3 or 4 for me.
Okay.
Sure.
Take the World Cup out of it. American sport. Does it take the cake?
JJ is like really forcing this upon you. I love it.
I want to take. I want to take.
Let's see.
Decade.
So last 10 years.
Yes.
I watched Game 7 of 2016. It was pretty incredible with the back and forth, but I was younger then. I remember watching.
Such a child, I know.
I'm gonna go. Yes.
I like it. That's what I needed. I need a little validation in my life,
You know what's so crazy? Because like the same way Anthony is about soccer, that's how I am about boxing. I think as much as I love NBA is probably my favorite, sport league. As much as I love NFL, I think the highest level of boxing is better than the highest level of anything else, because there's just a certain feel when you're in the stadium for a major title fight that you just don't get anywhere else. But like, I'm realizing, I guess this is me getting old. I'm realizing how the lack of great fights that we've had the last 10 years. Because to me, when you said last decade, I'm thinking the whole 2010s. And the first thing that I thought of was Juan Manuel Marquez knocking out Manny Pacquiao. Like that's one of the first things.
That
like,
became a meme.
Yeah, so it's just
The
like to me,
Pacquiao
that's
meme,
one of the
right?
greatest.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's one of the greatest sporting events because it's just like, Marquez, he arguably got robbed 3 other times before that fight. And then he comes into this fight and he's like, look, I need a knockout. And first he drops him and then he looks like he's, dead and gone. And then he stops Pacquiao. So that's one of my favorites. But yeah.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, like I think playoff baseball is the pinnacle of sporting drama, just from
I
a,
love
from
it.
a,
I
from an
agree with
energy,
that.
from a
Mhm.
nerve, from a gut wrench, from a tension perspective, because of the flow of the sport, the breaks between pitches, the crowd shots, the
Mhm.
the chess match of explaining hitter pitcher strategy. What's he going to throw here? What would you do here? How would you manage this? Like there's so many things
Mhm.
that are put into place that a lot of sports don't really have to the same level. And like I love a good third down in a big spot or a fourth down or a game-winning field goal. Those are all great. But what I meant by kind of the World Cup thing, and I think playoff baseball is better even than like knockout tournament soccer. But
Yeah.
when it's Argentina and France in the final of the World Cup and the greatest player of all time, and what many consider, and I think I would agree with, the best player of the current generation, Kylian Mbappe, kind of going mano a mano in a team sport like they did, that was something that will probably never be replicated. So I thought that's why I put that event, singular
Mhm.
event. If you name me like the next 10 to 15, I'm not sure I'd have a soccer one in that list. I would have to really think about it.
Mhm.
All right, boys. Best bets. Let's send everybody on their way a winner. House, it could be Monday night. It could be a look ahead. Floor is yours. Take it away.
I'm going to the association. There's a big slate of basketball out there tonight. I don't know whether or not this Arizona Cardinals Dallas Cowboys game is going to be compelling. I like some favorites here early season. I'm looking for a little money line parlay. We've got 3 favorites we're going to slam together to get to better than even money odds. Detroit is at Memphis. Memphis is in a really wacky scenario right now with whatever's going on with John Morant. They got their butts handed to them in Toronto. Detroit going down there. We like Houston at home against Dallas. Dallas is banged up. And of course, we have to have the New York Knicks
Oh,
against
against
the
your
Washington
Wiz. That's
Wizards.
right.
That's how
That's
we get the
right.
plus money odds on this thing. Plus 101 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. A little 3-leg parlay.
Like the creativity. Raheem, what are we thinking?
Hold on. Pause real quick. I'm
Edit
sorry.
that out. All right, I'm gonna go first. Here we go.
All right.
I like it. I like it, House. Okay. Best bets. Grab the Steelers now. +3 against the Los Angeles Chargers. Hate the spot for Los Angeles. They're not going to have home support. They're depleted on the offensive line. Steelers finding a little voodoo with that defense. There's a sense of urgency for them with what's going on in the AFC North and the return of Lamar Jackson. I think the Steelers win outright against the Los Angeles Chargers. That is a bet I am willing to make. Another one I am willing to make. 2 anytime touchdowns. Tight ends. Mr. McBride, Mr. Ferguson. Take them both to score in this shootout of a football game we're going to have between the Cardinals and the Cowboys. Dabbundo, you have a best bet for us?
Yeah, Dallas team total over. I think I bet it. The last 2 home games, we've gotten there pretty comfortably. We're going back to the well. They're going to get at least 29 tonight. I know it's ticked up above 28, but I think they're getting to 30. Last team with the ball wins. Should be a fun one tonight. To the Cardinals' credit, they've lost every game by 4 or less. Like you could do some schedule machinations in like the what if game with the Cardinals. They've been in every game. I mean, Dallas can't blow anybody out except for House's commies. So it should be a good one tonight. Good game for like the SGP people of the world that like to put all their like anytime touchdown parlays together. Should be a lot of those, on the fast track indoor in Dallas tonight. But I like Dallas team total over.
All right, Dream, wrap it up with a bang.
All right, we got 2. We're going to go with Jacoby Brissett over 248 passing yards. And then we're going to go with the Lakers, Portland Trailblazers over 236 and a half. These NBA totals are crazy right now. Almost going over it like 60% of the time. So I think you get a lot of points in this game. I think the Lakers are playing on a back-to-back, so I don't think the defense is going to be there. And then we know about Jacoby Brissett against this Cowboys defense. He's going to be passing early and often.
Boys, that's going to do it for this loaded Monday East Coast bias. House back later in the week. Dabbundo back later in the week. Raheem, I will see you on Thursday. For Anthony Dabbundo, Joe House, Raheem Palmer, John Jastremski signing off. Good job by Stefan and Mikey, of course. Enjoy the week. Baseball says goodbye. NFL in full swing. NBA gets cooking. Buckle up. Winter months ahead. Boys are out. Be good, everybody.
Must be 21 or older and present in select states, or 18 or older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. You must be 21 or older and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 or older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG, 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text HOPE New York in New York